Welcome back to latest News Blaster. The news shook the entertainment industry like a thunderstorm. Reports began circulating that Sean Diddy Combs, the man who once ruled the world of hip-hop, fashion and celebrity culture, was facing one of the darkest and most terrifying battles of his life. Not in the music business, not on the streets, but behind cold concrete prison walls. Whispers spread quickly. Diddy was almost poisoned in jail. The story sounded like a twisted movie script, yet sources close to the situation insisted that it was all too real. Diddy's fall from grace had already captured headlines across the globe. Once celebrated as a mogul with an empire stretching across music, fashion, liquor brands, and reality TV, he had become a figure clouded by scandal and allegations. The empire he spent decades building seemed to crumble overnight, but what awaited him behind bars was even more brutal than any lawsuit or accusation. Prison wasn't just about locked doors and lost freedom, it was about survival. And now, according to insiders, Diddy was forced to fight for his very life, inside a system where enemies could strike when least expected. The word poison sent a chill down the spines of fans and critics alike. Poisoning in prison wasn't unheard of. In fact, many former inmates have revealed chilling details about how food could be laced with substances, or how drinks could be tampered with before reaching the prisoner. But the shocking claim wasn't just about food gone bad, it was about deliberate targeting. Reports suggested that Diddy had been marked, singled out by individuals who either despised his celebrity, wanted revenge for past wrongs, or perhaps even had connections on the outside. The most disturbing detail to surface in the first wave of rumors was the phrase maggot food. Some claimed that the meal served to Diddy on a particular night was crawling with insects, as if purposely contaminated. Others argued it was symbolic, a way of breaking him down mentally, showing him that even as a former billionaire, he would eat the same trash as the lowest prisoner, or worse. Whether or not the maggots were real, the emotional impact of the phrase spread like wildfire. Diddy was being fed humiliation along with his meals, and the possibility of poison only made the story darker. The celebrity behind bars. To understand why Diddy became such a target, one must first remember the magnitude of his fame. For decades, he embodied the idea of living large. Mansions, private jets, endless parties, and a network of celebrity friends that included everyone from rappers to Hollywood icons. His very lifestyle represented a world most inmates would never see, let alone touch. Now, stripped of his luxuries, he walked the same halls as men hardened by violence, betrayal, and survival instincts. For many inmates, Diddy's presence was a contradiction. On one hand, he represented power, money, and fame, the very things most prisoners secretly envied or resented. On the other hand, his downfall symbolized vulnerability. If a man as rich and connected as Diddy could end up behind bars, then no one was untouchable. That paradox made him both a trophy and a target. It didn't take long for rumors to spread inside the prison yard that certain groups were planning something against him. For some, it was about testing the limits of his influence. For others, it was a way of sending a message: your money and fame can't save you here. But when whispers turned into claims of a poisoning attempt, the situation shifted from intimidation to deadly intent. The night of the incident. According to early reports, the alleged poisoning attempt happened during a routine evening meal. Diddy, like every other inmate, lined up for the standard cafeteria tray. Sources claim that he immediately noticed something strange. The food looked spoiled, the smell was unbearable, and one part of the tray appeared contaminated. While most inmates might shrug it off as prison food being notoriously bad, Diddy reportedly froze when he saw what looked like tiny wriggling creatures near the bread portion of the meal. But that wasn't the worst part. Allegedly, Diddy's drink was also tampered with. Some insiders suggest it was darker in color than usual, with an unusual aftertaste. He reportedly spat it out after the first sip, refusing to consume any more. Guards noticed the commotion, and for a brief moment, the cafeteria was filled with tense silence. Some inmates laughed, mocking the fallen star for being squeamish. Others whispered that he had just dodged a death sentence. The story became even more complicated when anonymous sources claimed that a correctional officer might have been involved. While this detail remains unconfirmed, it has added a dangerous layer of conspiracy to the narrative. If prison staff were complicit, it would mean Diddy wasn't just battling hostile inmates. He might be trapped in a system where even those in charge couldn't be trusted. Mental torture or murder attempt. At this point, the question remains, was this really an assassination attempt through poison? or was it a psychological tactic designed to break him down? Prison experts point out that poisoning in jail often doesn't mean lethal doses of chemicals. It could mean slipping something into food to cause illness, discomfort, or paranoia. Even the suggestion that food is contaminated can have a devastating effect on a prisoner's mental state. Imagine being locked away, with no control over what you eat or drink, constantly second-guessing whether your next bite might harm you. For Diddy, a man who once dined on the finest cuisine, this reality was more than humiliating, it was terrifying. The maggot food scandal might also be symbolic. Inmates sometimes use shocking imagery to taunt those they dislike. By suggesting that Diddy was being served food unfit for humans, his enemies may have been sending him a message. In here, you are nothing, you are just another number. Still, the poison theory refuses to fade. Fans online have dissected every detail, with some convinced that rivals from Diddy's past might have orchestrated the attempt. Others believe the prison itself is trying to silence him before he can speak out about what he's experiencing behind bars. Public reaction. When news of the alleged poisoning broke, social media erupted. Hashtags like #PrayForDiddy and #PoisonPlot began trending as fans expressed shock, fear, and outrage. Some couldn't believe that a celebrity of his stature could be reduced to such vulnerable conditions. Others, more critical of his past controversies, reacted with cold indifference, claiming he was merely facing karma. Regardless of opinions, one truth remained. The idea that Diddy could be poisoned in jail transformed his story from one of scandal to one of survival. Suddenly, it wasn't just about court cases or accusations, it was about whether he would live to see freedom again. Journalists began digging deeper, attempting to confirm the details of the supposed poisoning attempt. While official prison spokespeople denied any deliberate act, insiders continued to fuel the fire, claiming Diddy had become a marked man. The mix of official denial and insider whispers only made the story more explosive. A survivor's instinct. What makes this story even more gripping is how Diddy reportedly reacted. Instead of collapsing under fear, he began taking survival seriously. Insiders claim he became hyper-cautious with his meals, refusing to eat certain foods and demanding sealed water whenever possible. He was said to keep to himself more, avoiding unnecessary confrontations and keeping his eyes sharp on those around him. For a man who once lived surrounded by bodyguards, chefs, and luxury, adapting to prison survival was a shocking transformation. But as many pointed out, Diddy had always been a hustler. From his earliest days in Harlem, he had navigated tough environments. This time, however, the stakes were higher. This wasn't about making it big in music. This was about staying alive in a world where fame could not protect him. To be continued. The first chapter of this survival story sets the stage for one of the most shocking celebrity sagas of modern times. Did Diddy truly face an assassination attempt behind bars? Was the maggot food a symbolic humiliation or a real threat to his life? And most importantly, who is behind the plot? As new details continue to emerge, one thing is certain: Diddy's story is no longer just about fame, fortune, or scandal. It has become a story of survival, resilience, and the chilling reality of life behind bars. The prison walls were unforgiving, holding more than just Diddy. They held danger, grudges, and hidden threats. Inside, the whispers about the poisoning attempt spread like wildfire. Inmates debated who could be behind it: jealous rivals, dangerous gangs, or even people with connections outside the prison. Some insiders hinted at a shocking possibility. Correctional officers might have been involved, whether through negligence or something far more sinister. The day of the alleged attack started like any other. Diddy lined up for his meal, but something immediately felt wrong. The food looked unusual, smelled off, and most shockingly, tiny creatures appeared to be crawling across the bread. While some dismissed it as normal prison horror, Diddy's instincts told him something more dangerous was at play. His drink, dark and oddly flavored, added to the alarm. He reportedly spat it out, avoiding what could have been a deadly sip. This moment wasn't just about food. It symbolized the harsh reality of prison life. Fame and money meant nothing here. One wrong move could cost a life. And Diddy, once untouchable, now found himself vulnerable in ways he had never experienced before. Outside, the news exploded online. Fans rallied under hashtags like #PrayForDiddy and #DiddySurvives, expressing shock and fear. celebrities and influencers voiced concern, while tabloids emphasized the dangerous nature of this story, portraying Diddy as a star fighting for his life, rather than just facing legal troubles. Inside, the psychological toll was immense. Sources described Diddy as hyper-vigilant, scrutinizing everything he consumed and avoiding unnecessary interactions. Former allies and a few trustworthy inmates reportedly became his lifeline, providing guidance and warnings about potential threats. Despite isolation and fear, Diddy applied the same sharp instincts that had helped him succeed in the music world. He learned to read people, navigate dangers, and protect himself in a place where trust was a rare commodity. The poison theory, whether true or partially exaggerated, highlighted one fact: Diddy's survival depended on constant alertness. Even a small dose could have incapacitated him, and in prison, medical help could be slow or unreliable. Every meal became a test, every drink a potential threat. As speculation about the plot deepened, fans and insiders alike asked, who would go to such lengths? Was it an inmate acting out of jealousy, a prison staff member with ill intent, or a rival from the outside orchestrating a deadly plan? No one had clear answers, but the tension only heightened the story's impact. In the end, Diddy's ability to survive came down to instinct, vigilance, and the few trusted allies he had within those walls. Even as the danger persisted, he remained composed, channeling the hustler mentality.